Hey guys, Tighebo here. We're back with more Five Nights with Harry by Harry Lefferts. Um, we're also in a different place because I thought I've been waiting to do the go explore Hogwarts for this, and I found this game on Roblox and it looked interesting. So we're gonna explore this, but also we're gonna read this, and also I think we might be going back to Hogwarts in this chapter, maybe. Uh. So yeah, uh, last chapter we had Harry waking up from the chapter before, Michelle finding out some more about Harry's childhood, um, and Piers and his friends broke into the pizzeria, and for some reason they thought they would be able to blame Harry for it, yeah. However, they got caught. So that's what happened in chapter 21. Let's get started on chapter 22. If you want to follow along, chapter link is in the description below, as always. Let's get started. Veronica sat on the bed as she watched Harry slowly organize his trunk. So, you'll be leaving soon for Hogwarts then? With a nod, Harry closed the trunk and sighed as he sat down onto it. Yeah, less than a week actually before heading out. He stared out the window where evening turned into night. For the first time in my life, I'm actually not looking forward to leaving the Dursleys, because that means I'm leaving you bunch behind. Feeling a hand on his shoulder, he noticed that Ao was there. Hey, they can take care of themselves. And it's not like your aunt or Veronica can't visit at times. They can even make trips to bring items back and forth now that we've tested it. That caused Harry to smile some, as he remembered that they had transported a pizza from Freddy's to where Sirius was, and it was still hot and fresh in the box, much to the dog Animagus's joy. True, but that just means I'll be able to send wizarding treats and stuff to where Chica and the others can enjoy it. As she smiled, Veronica nodded. And I have no doubt that they will love anything that you send. Chica is especially excited to finally be able to try some butterbeer or pumpkin juice. Foxy, of course, is more interested in the chocolate frogs. While he nodded, Harry looked up at Veronica with a thoughtful expression. What about you? What are you looking forward to me sending you? Surprised, Veronica thought it over some as she hummed. Now that is a tough one, actually. I'd really like anything chocolate you might send, especially dark chocolate. Though, Beavis mentioned something about chocolate cauldrons. Apparently, chocolate candies filled with fire whiskies? At Harry's nod, she smiled and tapped him on the head. I think that I might like one of those if possible. Not like I'll get drunk now or anything, but I always did enjoy the odd nightcap. From her position on Harry's shoulder, Aya nodded rapidly. Yeah, that actually does sound good. And it has been a while since I've had any alcohol. A chuckle escaped Harry's mouth as he shook his head. I'll try my best, though Michelle and the others also want some items sent to them if possible. Spotting the slight blush on his face, Aya cooed. Aw, going to miss her. There was a slight scowl on Harry's face as he shoved the spirit, though it was ruined by how red his face was. She's just a friend. Before any more teasing could happen, though, there was shouting downstairs before pounding footsteps came up the stairs and a door slammed. Raising an eyebrow, Veronica looked in the direction the sound had come from. What was that all about? With a sigh, Harry shook his head. That would likely be Dudley being told that he's not allowed to see Piers or any of his friends because they're a bunch of no-good hooligans, according to Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon. Apparently, getting caught by the police and the aftermath has been enough to change them from angelic boys to a bunch of criminals. Laughing some, Air grinned. Oh man, not to mention that a bunch of witnesses are coming forward to say that they saw them do things like damage the playground and the like. Seems that them already having been caught by the police and charged is enough for people to come brave enough to come forward. Nodding, Harry let out a sigh. The only reason why Dudley's not getting any is that he wasn't there that night. As she snorted, Veronica leaned back some. Shame that. Harry only shrugged in comment. The animatronics were in the party room, all playing, while off to the side, Harry and the others were just chatting. All of them understood that Harry was not going to be there past the week, as he was going back to Hogwarts. And that meant that they were going to spend as much time with him as possible. So, Erica, how goes things on your end? With a smile, Erica sipped her soda as she shook her head. Well, we found some old auto repair shops nearby that were for sale. One of them, though, we're really interested in as it closed down only a year after they opened, after some issues popped up with the owner. His eyebrow raised, Harry hummed. What issues were those now? Erica turned towards him and her voice became deadpan. He was ripping some people off and got caught. With how much money he lost, he's having to sell it. She shrugged. With some work between us, it should make for a perfect workshop for what we're doing. Especially if we buy a moving van as planned for Freddy's and the others, and a normal van to transport parts around. Steph thinks we can set up the front with some small animatronics to attract some attention. Though we won't be making anything beyond Christmas decorations and Halloween decorations for at least 2 or 3 years while we work on the group. As he nodded, Harry smiled a bit. That sounds pretty good. Just as Michelle was about to comment, though, a crash sounded through the building, and everyone looked around. What was that? There was another crash, as if something was bursting through wood, which caused Freddy to frown. Sounds close. Narrowing his eyes, his head whipped towards the parts and service room. It's in... Before he could finish, the door was thrown open, and there were 2 blue glowing eyes that stared out. Then they focused on Veronica, and a black blur launched itself at her. Mama! Stumbling back, Veronica blinked and looked down at the shattered Foxy that now gripped her around her chest. Eric? Is that really you? With a sniffle, Shadow Foxy looked up, and Veronica froze, seeing 2 familiar blue eyes. Uh-huh, it's me, Mama. Where were you, Mama? I waited and waited so that we could go to that light thing, but you never came. And I heard you shout my name a lot, but could never find... He stopped, though, as Veronica held him tightly to her. Eric, oh baby, my wonderful, beautiful baby boy. You're back. You're back. Sobs escaped her as she kissed his brow over and over as the others watched with smiles on their faces. Then Eric noticed them and blinked before he suddenly rushed behind Veronica and poked his head around the side. Who are they, Mama? Rubbing the top of his head, Veronica sniffled a bit. They are some very special people, honey. In fact, they're your new family. Chica rubbed at her eyes a bit as Eric came out a bit. You guys know what this means? They all shared a look, and outside of Eric and Veronica shared the same deadpan tone. Pizza? With a hush, Chica shook her head. No, group hug, and then a pizza to celebrate a new family member. A still sniffling, though smiling, Veronica found herself and Eric at the center of a large hug not even a few moments later. After everything calmed down some, Veronica sat on Pirates Cove stage with Eric in her lap as she rocked back and forth, humming a little bit of a song. In her mind, one thought kept being repeated over and over. He's back! He's back! My little boy is back! Giving a kiss on the brow, her eyes scanned the room and came to a stop on Harry, who was chatting with Jessie. And it's all thanks to him. You had not come that night? A shiver ran through her before she shook it off some. No, don't think about those days anymore. As she was not the only one looking around, as Eric was as well, curious about what was surrounding him, Eric twisted his body around to see where Foxy was putting on a show for Rebecca and Andrew, as well as Jess, though he was puzzled as he could hear a soft crunch coming from inside him. I've got so many big brothers and sisters now. Veronica smiled softly as she kissed him on the brow again. That you do, honey. We're all a big and happy family. It was then that he noticed that he was watching Harry as if puzzled by something. Is there something wrong, honey? Frowning, Eric shook his head and then pointed at Harry. I saw him before, Mummy, in the dark place where I waited for you, but he was with a woman with red hair. Now intrigued, Veronica hummed a bit. "You saw Harry? With someone who had red hair." Shaking her head, Veronica set him down, even though she didn't quite want to before she grasped his hand. "Well then, how about we go ask Harry about who you saw then? Hmm?" There was a glow in Harry's eyes. There was a glow in Eric's eyes as they walked across the room, his chest feeling like it would burst from happiness now that he was with his mom again. "Mommy, is Mr. Harry my big brother as well? I heard Olive call him Uncle Harry." Chuckling, Veronica felt like her son, her unbeating heart feeling like it had swollen with how happy she was. "Well, what would you like Harry to be, Eric? He could be your big brother, your uncle, or however you want." Her eyes took in Harry, and she sighed. "He deserves it, after all." However, the response she got caused her to stumble a bit. "Ooh, can he be my daddy? I never had a daddy. He seems like a daddy giving great hugs and telling stories. He really has some great stories, Mommy." Blinking, the golden fox animatronic glanced around, feeling her cheeks as if they were hot as the little red lights in them came on. Uh, um, well, you see, Eric, honey, Harry's more of an uncle, I guess. Not a daddy." With his head nodding, Eric grinned. "Oh, okay, Mommy," and then waved towards Harry. "Uncle Harry." Harry turned towards the two and smiled. "Hey there, Eric." "Veronica, want to hear some more stories about Hogwarts?" As she shook her head with a smile, Veronica chuckled. "Actually, Harry, Eric here has something that he wants to ask from you." Raising an eyebrow, Harry tilted his head back to look into the nearly blue eyes of the fox animatronic that stood more than a head and shoulders above him. "Well, ask away, Eric." What he had not expected was for what Eric did as he leaned from one foot to another. Um, well, Mr. Harry, when I was in the dark place waiting for Mommy, I saw you there sometimes. But you were always with a red-haired woman and had a different name." There was a choked tone to Harry's voice as he swallowed the lump in his throat. "Who? Do you know what names they had?" Eric frowned a bit before he nodded. "Uh-huh. They told me their names were James and Lily. Why do you have a different name and eyes, Mr. Harry?" Having been told of stories about Harry's parents, Veronica's eyes widened as she realized who her son had met as Harry paled a bit. "Eric, I look a lot like my dad, and his name was James, and my mom's name was Lily." Surprised, Eric didn't really read the mood from Harry as he bounced around. "Wow! I met your mommy and daddy there?" At Harry's shaky nod, at, hold on, did I say that right? I feel like At Harry's shaky nod, Eric grinned. "Wow!" With a slightly hungry look, Harry reached up and grasped Eric's shoulder. "Eric, did they ever say anything about me?" Puzzled by the expression on Harry's face, as well as how his mom had placed her paw on Harry's shoulder, Eric nodded. "Uh-huh. They said that their son was in danger, and they were there to watch over him, and that if he went there, they would be there to greet him with hugs and kisses, though they hoped that he wouldn't be there for a long time. I understand that. Oh, they also said that they were really proud and stuff." If anything, Eric's confusion grew as Harry, not caring about the dust and grime still on the animatronic, hugged him close. "Thank you, Eric. Thank you." Still not sure what was going on, Eric did what he saw other people do and hugged Harry back as he patted him on his back. Or patted his back. You're welcome, Mr. Harry." Looking at his mother for guidance, he only saw her eyes become shiny as she also hugged them both. It was Harry's very last night at Freddy's as he was leaving for Hogwarts the next day. All he was asked was to leave his uniform when he left in the morning. To that end, he could hear the sounds of the Fazbear gang as they set up for his going-away party as he walked up to the door and opened it to Michelle and the others. "Hey, thanks for coming." Much to his surprise, Michelle hugged him tightly. "Of course would come, Harry. We won't get to see you until at least the holidays." Lisa and Erica followed with hugs of their own before Lisa shook her head. "Why wouldn't we come to the going-away party for fun? Especially a close friend like you." The smile on Harry's face could only be described as blinding from how happy he felt as the toys, Vakia, and Olive all hugged him. Suddenly, a barking laugh caused him to see his godfather walk up the hallway towards him. What? No hug from me? Sniffling a bit, Erica grinned a bit. Hold on. Sniffling, Erica grinned a bit. Who would hug a dirty old dog like yourself? With a giggle, Olive ran up and hugged Sirius around the waist. I would, Mommy. It's really funny and nice. Oh, is that supposed to be he's really funny and nice? Okay. As he barked another laugh, Sirius pointed down at her. Your daughter's right. Shaking her head, Erica hugged him, as did the others. Though Sirius grinned at Harry as he hugged both Michelle and Lisa as he waggled his eyebrows. Once that was done, he gestured down the hallway. Anyways, we're setting up in the party room, and I got some surprises for you. That caused everyone else to share a confused look before they followed him into the party room, fully lit up now that Harry had brought a large generator to run the power during the nighttime hours. Later on, after they had their pizza, Erica blinked as Sirius and Remus set some boxes down on the table. What are those? Sirius just pushed three of the boxes towards the three women as he softly smiled. Well, I decided to get some presents together. These three here are for you. Confused, Michelle shared a look with her friends before they opened the boxes to reveal what looked like an expensive necklace. Oh, wow! These are incredible! While he leaned back, Sirius shook his head. Actually, they're a bit more than that. He glanced at Harry as he knew what reaction his next words would cause. This is something that Lily worked on while she was alive. Sure enough, that caused Harry to look up, but it was Rose who gave Sirius a look. Lily worked on those? On these? All Sirius did was waggle his hand a bit. Well, not these necklaces in particular, but Lily worked out and created some of the enchantments. You see, Lily hated how her parents were unable to go to Hogwarts or most places in the wizarding world due to the muggle repelling charms on various places. Rose slowly nodded as she could remember that. So, Lils worked on a way to let them. Not only that, but she also wanted to make sure that no one could wipe their memories, or the memory of other Megaborn family members. It took her years, but she managed it about a month before, you know. Now that caused Harry to sit up and take notice. Are you saying that? Remus finished for him. That Michelle and the others can visit any place, even if they have Muggle repelling wards, as well as being pretty much immune to memory modification. That is indeed generally what we're saying. As long as they wear those, they don't have to worry about anything. At most, an attempted memory modification will just make the few minutes around said spell having been cast fuzzy. Nothing else. Examining one of them, Foxy nodded. Aye, that takes the weight off of our shoulders, I'd be thinking. Her own eyes wide, Chica hugged Michelle to her. Oh, I'm so happy for you all. I was worried about that. A frown, though, was on Veronica's face as she remembered her own experiences with magic. But what if they try to force it off them, either taking the necklaces or using magic to get them to take them off? However, Sirius just nodded. Nah, there's protections on them to make it so they need to take them off of their own free will. And if anyone else tries to grab them, take them off, well, wouldn't be nice for a would-be thief. Erica and her friends shared a look and shivered a bit. However, before they could say anything, Sirius pushed towards two boxes to Michelle and Harry, as well as Rose. Now then, these are for you three. Sharing a look, all three opened their boxes, only for Harry to give his godfather a look. Mirrors? With a smirk, Remus shook his head. Not just any mirrors, they're communication mirrors. As he continued, Remus gestured at himself and Sirius. While we were in school, us and your father created them. We mostly used them to keep in touch with each other when separated for detentions, and to set up pranks in different areas of the school. There was a far-off look in the wizard's eyes before he shook it off. All you need to do is hold it and say a name. The young woman examined the mirror before she raised an eyebrow. Will this even work for me? I don't have magic after all. Remus sighed a bit as he leaned back. It should. We gave a mirror to your grandparents, Harry, so they could talk with Lily wherever they wanted, and they were able to use it until one day Petunia accidentally broke it while cleaning. Grumbling, Rose rolled her eyes. Yeah, I am so sure. Michelle, though, hummed in thought before she looked up. So all we do is say someone's name. That's it? At their nods, she cleared her throat and looked down into the mirror. Harry Potter. Sure enough, both Harry and hers changed reflections to show each other in the mirror, which caused them to grin, an expression that Michelle shared. Wicked. As he laughed, tears twinkled some. Just think, Harry, you'll be able to talk with your girlfriend whenever you want, and vice versa. There was a blush on both teams' faces as they glared at him and shouted together at the same time. We're just friends! Snickering, Sirius waved them off. Sure you are. It was around 4 in the morning when Harry quietly left the party room and entered the security office. For several minutes he stood there leaning against the desk before he sighed and pressed Freddy's nose on the Celebrate poster. A small smile grew on Harry's face as it squeaked before he heard someone. Pay for your thoughts? Turning, Harry saw Michelle leaning against the door frame and sighed. Just remember everything, that is all. Michelle walked up and leaned back onto the desk beside him. So much has happened this summer, honestly, and, well, despite the start, I've loved working here. I've met someone blood related to me who honestly cares about me, had adventures, and reaching out, he grasped Michelle's hand, made some really great friends. As she glanced down at the hand clasping her own, Michelle smiled as she moved her fingers so that they intertwined with Harry's. You're not the only one. At his expression, she shook her head. I've come to England mainly to study to become a teacher. All I really expected was to spend a few years here learning, partying, maybe dating a cute guy or two. Meeting you has honestly turned my whole world upside down, but in a good way. Unnoticed by the two, they shuffled a bit until their hips touched, as Harry turned toward her. Really? Nodding, Michelle sighed. Everything has been a bit boring, really, but now I've had not just adventures of my own, but found out things I never knew were true before. And I just don't mean the truth behind Freddy's, but that there's magic, real magic in the world, and you've shown me just a bit of that. As a soft laugh escaped her. It's almost something from a fantasy novel. A young woman meets a mysterious young man with a troubled past, and afterwards she's drawn into a world of magic that she never knew existed with him as a guide and friend. Yet, while there are parts of the world are terrifying, it's also wondrous. With a smile, Harry could feel her lay her head on his shoulder. Yeah, I remember being introduced to magic for the first time myself. Thoughtful, Harry turned his head some so that he could look her in her face before he reached up and brushed some of her bangs from her face as she smiled back. You know, once this whole business with Voldemort is taken care of, I would really like to show you more of the magical world. Her eyes sparkling, Michelle lit up. Are you serious? All Harry did was raise his palm up. I am. I would love to show you places like Diagon or Hogsmeade, not to mention Hogwarts. Pictures just do not do it justice. And maybe later on, maybe we can all go and travel some. Hermione mentioned some magical places in France that might be interesting. Michelle softly smiled as she nodded. I'd like that. It was then that she could hear a song begin to play from the party room. Huh, now that's a coincidence. A whole new world indeed. For a moment, Harry listened and laughed. I knew that they loved Disney movies, and they do love singing the songs. A second later, Michelle stood up and pulled him up to her. Come on, what's a party without some dancing, huh? Still with a smile, she put her arms around his neck as his arms went around her waist. The two of them just rocked back and forth, smiling. With a sigh, Michelle closed her eyes and leaned in as Harry did the same, until their foreheads touched. Unseen by them, Erica poked her head in and had wide eyes before she took a picture with the camera that Sirius had lent her, which made wizarding photos. Then, just as quickly, Erica left the two. Better make sure that they're not disturbed. It was a good thing that she left, as a moment later, Harry and Michelle both opened their eyes and would have seen her. As it was, the two just continued to sway to the music as they stared into each other's eyes before Harry softly whispered, it's a good thing that Sirius gave us those mirrors. With a raised eyebrow, Michelle gave him a smile. Oh? Slowly, Harry nodded as his cheeks reddened some. I think that one of the things that I would have missed the most is just talking to you, Michelle. It's nice. Her own face slightly red, Michelle agreed as they tightened their embrace. Yeah, I would have missed being able to talk with you too. It's a good thing that those don't have bills, so I'm going to try and talk with you every night. There was a lopsided smile on Harry's face that caused Michelle's flush to deepen some. Promise? Chuckling, Michelle nodded as she closed her eyes again, not knowing Harry was doing the same. Promise. A couple of minutes later, the two returned to the party, though they raised their eyebrows at the highly amused looks they got. What? Sirius grinned and was about to say something when Lisa whapped him on the back of the head before she turned to them. It's nothing, you two. Just wondering where you both disappeared off to. Both Harry and Michelle shared a look before the wizard shrugged. We're just chatting is all. At the grins, Harry felt his face heat up a bit. That's really all we did, you bunch. It was then that Michelle came to the rescue and patted the chair beside her. Well, come on then and sit down. Once they did so, she pointed towards Sirius. Apparently the Dogfather here has something for us. For a few seconds, Sirius rubbed his chin and thought. Dogfather, huh? I like that. Seeing the looks, though, he pulled out a flask and several glasses. Anyway, Harry mentioned to Remus that you bunch wanted to try some wizarding food and drinks. Don't have any food, but I do have a drink. Into each of the glasses, he poured a small amount of amber liquid. 50-year-old fire whiskey, and I know that my parents would be pissed off if they saw who I was sharing with, which is a bonus. After Sirius placed each one in front of Harry, Michelle, Erica, Lisa, and Veronica, the others having stated they didn't want any, he finished by placing two in front of himself and Remus. Will Harry want to start us off? Raising the glass into the air, Harry looked around and smiled. To your family and friends. Michelle only blushed a little as she gave hers. To strengthening new relationships. With a nod of her own, Erica grinned a little. To making dreams come true. There was a grin also on Lisa's face as she laughed. To a better world. Sirius nodded at that. To mending fences. As he shook his head, Remus sighed. To rebuilding what was lost. Finally, Veronica raised her own glass. To forgiving the past and towards a better, brighter future together. Cheers! A few minutes later, had Erica set up the camera and then rush over to her place as they took a group photo of all of them. With a sigh, Harry flopped back onto his bed as he listened to the others in his dorm fall asleep with a slight grunts. Lovely. I forgot how my circa ribbon would be messed up. Feeling something, he turned a bit to see Ariel watching him with a smile. Hey! Chuckling, she laid back with her arms outstretched. So this is Hogwarts then. Nice place. Aya then glanced out the curtains at where Seamus was sleeping, before she frowned. Well, for the most part. As he shook his head, Harry pulled out his wand and closed the curtains before he put up some privacy charms. I really should have expected it. He then tapped his wand. Tempest. Interested, Aya watched as glowing numbers appeared above the wand, telling them it was 10 at night. Rather useful, that. Harry chuckled some as he nodded. You're telling me. Suddenly he felt a tingle that caused the hairs on the back of his neck to raise up, and he poked his head out to see a familiar golden fox animatronic. Veronica? The spring suit glanced around before she motioned with her hand. Let me in, okay? Shrugging, Harry moved more towards the center of the bed, as Veronica crawled in and lay down beside him on the opposite side that Anne did. So, how did your trip Great Feast go? While he ran his hand through his hair, Harry sighed a bit. It went about as well as one could expect. People whispering about how crazy I am because of the smear campaign. Profit, even one of my doormates, who has known me for years now, told me he's not supposed to talk with me because his mother thinks I'm crazy. Unseen by him was the eagerly dark expressions on both Aya and Veronica's faces before the fox animatronic pulled him to a hug. Well, just ignore him then. If his mom thinks is willing to try and control his life at a boarding school to that level, and he lets her, then their loss is what I say. Anyone other than Harry, and possibly Michelle's group, would have likely been creeped out by being hugged by a reanimated corpse inside an animatronic suit. However, Harry didn't mind at all, and rather liked it as he hugged her back. Or he hugged back. I know, but I could tell that until Voldemort owes up himself that this year is going to bloody well suck. Snorting, Veronica tapped his head. Language, young man. It was then that Harry heard something and blinked. What the bloody hell? Does anyone else hear crinkling? Air frowned for a moment and looked around, ignoring the black mass that had taken up residence in Harry's bed canopy. Then she found the source and blinked a bit. Huh. Will you look at that? With a frown, Harry and Veronica followed her gaze and blinked. Slowly, Harry's eyes widened as he watched the holes in the legs of Veronica's suit slowly, visibly begin to seal themselves. Raising her paw, both Harry and Veronica watched with wide eyes as the rotted and damaged sections repaired themselves. Oh, now, this is rather useful. Gently grasping her paw in his hand, Harry brought it closer to his face, not having noticed that the lights beneath Veronica's cheeks glowed slightly. It's doing it at a snail pace, but I can actually track it being repaired. But how? Thoughtful, Aya tapped her chin before she nodded and attracted Harry's attention. Well, the answer is rather obvious. At their raised eyebrow, she waved around one hand and wiggled the fingers on it. Magic! A beat of silence followed before Harry and Veronica gave her an annoyed look. Hey, thanks, Aya. You're a regular Sherlock Holmes. However, Aya was unrepentant. Like you have a better explanation. She then stretched some. Speaking of magic, are you going to contact Michelle and the others tonight? Being reminded caused Harry to grin some before he left the bed and returned with the mirror in his hand. Michelle Smith. It took a few moments, but then Michelle's face filled the mirror, and Harry noticed that she looked highly annoyed before she smiled. Hey there, Harry. I was wondering when you'd call. From the background, Harry could hear Lisa called out. So worried that she hasn't let that mirror out of her sight the whole night. Glaring, Michelle grabbed something, and Harry could hear laughter from Lisa as the brunette threw whatever it was. Huffing, she turned back towards Harry with a blush on her face. Just ignore her. Despite that, Harry still frowned. Are you okay, Michelle? At her confusion, he shook her head. It was just that when I called you, it seemed like you were really annoyed about something. That caused a scowl to run across the young woman's face as she crossed her arms under her chest. Just my dad being annoying. He was just calling me again, telling me that I should get a job. I swear, he just will not let up about me needing work, even though right now I'm finishing up a course. Don't get me wrong, I love my dad, but sometimes when he gets something into his head, he can be stubborn as a damn mule. With a sigh, she let her frustrations go. Sorry about venting like that. All Harry did was wave her off. Don't worry about it. His face then lit up. Oh, right, before I forget, I'll send Veronica later on with a bunch of the treats that I brought on the train. Got a few looks when I shoved them to expended inside the bag, but they should be fine. Michelle licked her lips a little with a hungry lip. Can't wait. Suddenly, her smile became a grin. Hey, now that you're at Hogwarts, you can show us magic, right? His own eyes wide, Harry nodded. That's right, I can. Nodding, Michelle turned her head and shouted out, Hey, guys, come on over. Harry's going to show us some magic. See Erica, Lisa, and all the animatronics crowning the view. Harry chuckled as he raised his wand. Let's start with something simple. Tempest. Once more the numbers came up, but showed that they were just before 11. Skipping into the party room, a young woman in a Freddy's security guard uniform looked around. Wow, Freddy's! She then walked up to the animatronics in front of it. You guys look kind of creepy, but cool. With a sigh, the janitor began putting away his items and shook his head. Look, girlie, don't get too comfortable here. Her eyes Her cheeks puffed out. The young woman shook her head with her purple-dyed hair swishing about in a ponytail. Don't call me girly. She rolled her eyes. Almost everyone calls me Cupcake. A chuckle came from the old janitor as he clapped his hands and put his stuff away in the cleaning closet. Well, whatever it is, have fun, kid. After all, you only got 5 minutes at Freddy's. Confused, the girl watched as the janitor left, chuckling under her breath. Wonder what that was all about. Hello. Turning, she looked at each of the animatronics. Guess now it's only you and me. For a moment, she stared at Chica and then shivered a bit. She's the creepiest, though. She has some kind of glare. Shaken off, she left, not noticing that the grins of the animatronic got a bit wider as they shared the same thought. Well, looks like we got someone clear tonight. Let's see how good she is. And that's the end of chapter 22. And we had a little special cameo at the end of the chapter, who I think I've been waiting forever to get to her, because she's a certain YouTuber. If you want to guess who she is in the comments, go ahead. Although I guess she did, I might have just given away who they were, but if you don't know who they are, good luck guessing. I'll tell you who she is in the next chapter. So you've got 2 weeks to guess, or at least 2 weeks since this video comes out. But yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this chapter. If you did, or this video, give it a like. Be sure to subscribe. Leave a review, because there is a link to the chapter. Go leave a review first, and then come back and tell me what you think of it. If you don't leave a review, I don't want to know. Yeah. Leave a review. Come back, comment if you, and yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you guys next Friday with a new video. Bye!